All right, here's the Falcon. I got the front end sprayed black in Summit brand epoxy primer. I threw the can away because I used it up, just a quart. And it turned out okay. So I did it over the course of 2 different weekends. I started with this one just as a test panel on a day that the weather was all right. It was like 55-degree high, so I figured that I could do it and then pull it into the garage, and then the garage stays at 60 degrees. Didn't realize it would stay so gummy. And then I also tried it with a purple gun that I drilled out to 2mm. And you can see I punched right there. It's a primer gun now. And I had regulator problems. I tried the plastic regulator from Harbor Freight, and when I was cranking the pressure up, it just broke. The whole end exploded out of it to where the screw and everything was just a separate piece. So I ran up to Napa and got this regulator and put it on there, and at that point I was kind of running out of the day, so I needed to just get into it, and I couldn't get the pressure to come up any higher than about 25 psi. I think it might have even been 20. I had the regulator at the compressor set to 60 psi, and this thing would not go over 20. These things like a lot of air pressure. Well, I don't know what they like, but they like a lot of air pressure, and I sprayed it with a little bit of air pressure, a big tip, and a very thick epoxy primer. The result, when it sprayed, was a lot of orange peel. It was so frustrating that I just went ahead and left it outside under one of those tents with some plastic sheeting around it, and it got down to 31 degrees. So this is probably never going to actually cure and be a good base for adhesion of paint, or base that I should say, but whatever. It's black, it's going to stay that way until the weather's nicer. And you can see over here, my prep job wasn't all that great. So right up on the edge, I think there's a little bit of sink. So the DA didn't really dig in there. So you can kind of see that shiny spot. And then there's the orange peel. It being cold gave it a long time to level out. So the orange peel was much worse. So when I came out the next day and saw this, I was actually okay with it. So that's that fender. And then the weather was just really cold for a very long time. The wind was kicking, and I decided I didn't want to mess around with the tent and the plastic anymore. So I cleared out an area in my shed and turned that into a paint booth for the other 2 pieces. And I also bought a 1.7mm tip Astro Euro Pro HE 1.7. I have a 1.3 for base and clear, and decided to get this. Now, when you look at these, I mean, they look like the same design, you know? Okay, that fan, that knob looks a little different. Other than that, I mean, they look like they came out of the same factory just about. You know, the frame's a little bit of a different shape, but the whole design is basically the same. The trigger on this has a pretty strong pull on it. The trigger on this is much smoother, and when I let out, it has a very solid stop where it's just air. This one has a pretty solid stop when it's just air too, but whenever you're going into the flow of the fluid, the spring and everything going on, it just feels kind of weird. It's a stronger spring, and it also, you can hear a squeak, see? Only been used once. So yeah, obviously it's only whatever, a $15 gun. So this will be my backup. This worked pretty good. So let's take a look at what happened. The weather was good. It was, I guess it was 60 something degrees, but I had a heater set up too. So I could heat the panel and take my little IR gun that I hid from myself. All right, IR gun. This thing works pretty good. And it's just stayed 60 to 64 degrees ever since I painted it. So this fender turned out pretty good. I mean, no noticeable orange peel. And then, yeah, I touched it. Is it dry yet? And it wasn't. No big deal. It's just epoxy. And it's no longer that dingy, ugly, white fiberglass gel coat that was just sun-baked and powdery. It's now rat rod black until I can put some color on it, which isn't going to match anyhow. The hood, completely different story. Now, the hood is not as old as the fenders, same manufacturer, but I ordered the hood like a year later. So these sat out in direct sunlight for about a year. The gel coat was really powdery, sanded off super easy. The hood, I believe what we're looking at here is my DA just didn't break it up as much there as it did up here and around here and along these edges due to sink. Ignore that. So I think that's what happened there. So the hood looks like crap, but whatever, it's black. And it looked like crap before when it was white. So I'm not too concerned with it. I might try to scuff it up with a Scotch pad or something just to give it all a uniform finish, but whatever. And then it was going to get cold. I didn't want to run the heater with the extension cord out in the shed all night. So I decided to put some gloves on and pick everything up, trying not to touch the surface at all. I did get a little bit, you can't really tell, it's focusing on the shock, but you can, yeah, you can kind of see it there. Got into that a little bit. But overall that went well. I grabbed the hood, things were going good until I set it down and my glove just completely smudged right through the skin. Oops. Not quite as bad on this side. And then when I was leaning forward to lay it down, my shirt, my beer belly, left a print. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, I'm glad it's black. And the hood I'm gonna have to probably re-epoxy and sand all this stuff smooth. So there you have it. I'm gonna go ahead and get the bolts back in here so I can drive this thing around again for a little while until the weather turns better. I didn't get a chance to, there we go, I didn't get a chance to epoxy the valence. So I'm going to just have the bumper with the big gap there again for a little while. But yeah, I'm going to bolt it back together. And here I am, you know, show car quality. So reach out to me if you've got a SEMA build and you need somebody to spray some garbage on it.